Hello and welcome to the Freelancers Coffee Break podcast. I'm your host, Ali, and with my co host, Mehmet Turan, we talk about freelancing and all the things it brings, all the value it brings, and what you need to do and what you should not do, and all that you need to know. We talk about it here. So, Mehmet, what are we going to talk about today?
Today we are going to talk about pricing.
Pricing.
Pricing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's go.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
So there are a couple of different pricing methods, and we talk a lot with you on different pricing methods. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. So I
Yeah.
said, let's talk about it and decide what works best at what cases. And let's start with the first one, hourly based pricing. Something that
Hourly
I
based
don't
pricing.
like, but probably the first time started, that's the best option. So in hourly
Yeah,
based, you charge for the time you spend on a project.
yeah,
Uh, you record the
exactly.
time,
Yeah,
you
so you have
tell,
a rate,
yeah, you have
and
a fixed rate for hourly rate.
yeah, you have an hourly rate, and it's like the basic American style work, actually, hourly work. So, how this helped me
Yeah.
is it gave me some credibility with some of my clients. It helped me to establish a relationship when I first started. So, yeah, it is
Hmm.
important that you do it at the beginning because yeah, it's good for your Upwork profile, especially if it's a long-term job. Uh, it's good for you to establish a relationship and yeah, make some money
Hmm.
because you can raise your hourly rates. It's a never-ending story, hourly rates, but yeah, at some point, thanks to your advice, Mehmet,
Hmm.
I was able to switch them all to fixed price contracts. So
Before we come to fixed pricing, okay, hourly rate is good for when you are newcomer. You can have different rates. You can raise as you gain more experience, but you are always limited with the time. You always value your time. Um, whichever you can say, okay, my hourly rate is $100, but someone can come and tell, okay, my hourly rate is $30. So for the client, it's very difficult to judge the difference between, okay, he's going to work for 1 hour, he's going to work for 1 hour, and I'll pay more than the double or triple the amount. So they'll tend to go for the cheaper option, but they don't know how fast the person working for $100, how many revisions, maybe he'll make it so good that even his first delivery will be perfect and there will be no need for revisions. But the other cheaper option will have many revisions, and all those revisions will be added as extra hours and will increase the total the
therefore,
total
take from the client's time,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
especially on Upwork, they're mostly like entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
people I work with, and they're usually on it themselves
Hmm.
to begin with. So they value their time, and this is actually one thing that they're hiring you for because maybe they could do it themselves, this job, whatever it is,
Hmm.
but they just want to save the time. Like this is one type of client, they want to
Hmm.
save time. They want to buy back their time, actually, you can say.
Exactly, yeah.
But there's also the client that wants quality work, but
Hmm.
that's not, I guess, for a beginner.
True.
Like 9 times out of 10 they'll go with the freelancer with the job history and establishment. So
Also,
yeah.
the hourly rate has this disadvantage. There is always some unknown. You give a job and you really don't know how much the end cost will be. Will it be 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours? You may guess, but at the end you don't really know. It's like you are buying a product, but the store owner will tell you after some time what the price will be.
Yeah, if you don't know, you don't know. So it's
Yeah.
good to work hourly. Like the stress, there are also facts like, when it's fixed price, like it's easier. The pressure is not there
Hmm.
because like when you're running a timer, it's just you have to work your ass, you know, in that hour or in that 10 minutes,
Sometimes
whatever.
clients ask you, how many hours will it take? You give them a promise. You'll say 5 to 10 hours, for example. And if it goes beyond 10 hours, you start stressing as well. You said, I told the client 10 hours maximum. Now it's going to 11 hours. But if it is fixed rate, okay, I calculated it to be 10 hours, but doesn't matter. It's
It's the logic. When I look back at 2018, my logic was this. They were asking me, hey, like, how long will this take you? And I would say 2.5 hours. And
mm,
I would never go beyond two and a
mm,
half hours, even if it did.
we'll
But
stop the
this,
clock.
I did lose some money, some $50, because
Mm,
my rates were really low back then. But it's helped me to, just trick the client into that. It's just like it's kind of a manipulation in a good way, because like you're
mhm,
giving them trust this way.
mhm, mhm.
So when you raise your rates, and at the end of the day, you're delivering like 3 hours, 2 hours. Like who cares when you look at it that way? But when you're at that level, you care. So
And also, there's this disadvantage
yeah,
of hourly rate. And nowadays, Upwork updated the system. But if you have very long-term clients, in time you increase your rates, but your old clients just keep on using the old rates. You try to push them. Okay, shall we increase our rates? Try to make them close the
yeah,
old contract
you can
and raise the
raise
rate.
your
That's
rates
also
small,
another,
little by
yeah,
small.
problem.
Yeah, this works. This is something that works. I always say this. I don't know if I said it on the English version of our podcast, but I started with five, and then like 7.5, 8.25, 10, 11.25, 12.50, 15. This is how I like really raise my
Mhm,
raise up to $100 right now. So uh,
mhm.
yeah, when you look at it, when you come to this level, you say, hey, like this is nothing. Like $100 an hour is not worth my time sometimes. If it's
Mm.
like a 1 hour job, maybe you
Yeah,
won't even do it, because then as the numbers get bigger, it's just you see the opportunity, you see the possibilities. So yeah, yeah, hourly is good to a point, and
I
then it's just
completely
yeah,
agree with you. For example, I received some invoice today. There were One was $50. It just doesn't work even to send an offer. Even if it was an invite, I'll still have to write about what I can do and so on. I said
yeah,
declined, and the budget is too low. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
at the
just
moment, I'm not accepting anything below $100. I tried, as long as
yeah.
it's not a repeating customer. Sometimes you have good clients; they have small jobs. They just send it, then you do it because they'll be coming over and over
Again,
again.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's like people have money and they are willing to pay.
For clients
Yeah,
now who are very long term. I have a couple of clients who don't want me to give them an estimate for each project. So they even send me sometimes work through email and so on, and I just type in the amount of and I do it manually. They just send me the work, I do the
mhm.
work, send it back, and just type in on Upwork the you know
Yeah, whatever you see fit. Yeah, this is trust. This is the result of the trust you build with your client, and it's really, really
exactly.
important. Your clients are not your friends, but they are your friends in a way, because you have to build that trust to be able to sustain a long-term contract. I see a lot of freelancers doing this mistake where they just like, overcharge.
Ah, yeah, big
So,
mistake.
like if I was a client, even if I was filthy rich, I'm like, hey, this is not cool. This is very disturbing.
Hmm.
Like, because like you're trying to, I'm not sure if we're allowed to say cursing
Say
words, but
whatever you.
yeah, like you're fucking me over, you know? So nobody wants to get
I
fucked.
don't know if you saw. Sometimes I
So
see on comments some clients make to for freelancers. They say, for example, they leave a contract open, and the freelancer had every week entered some hours, even if they didn't do anything. So after some time, as you said, they are maybe rich, or the company is just didn't realize it. But at the end, they realized they spent $5,000, for example, $10,000 in after a year, and
yeah, as long
they
as
are
you
furious.
don't have an agreements like that, because like you can get agreements like that. You can tie yourself to a company, and they can pay you a monthly wage,
Mm.
and there might not be any work, and you can still bill them
That's
because
called
that's your
retainer. We'll
agreement.
come to that.
Yeah, as a retainer, they'll hire you then. But yeah, like other way around, it's not cool because you're stealing in a
Not
way.
a way to make long-term relationship. Then there is the fixed rate, which is my favorite. But it has also some negatives. For each project, you have to look at the brief, you have to look at the assets to make an estimate. Sometimes for you, it's much easier. Maybe you can say, okay, for half an hour sound recording, I'll charge this much. But for me, I need to see the image, I need
Yep.
to see the brief, then tell them, okay, it would cost you this much, and they take it or leave it. But what I do, I'll calculate the value of that project for the client. I try to understand, for example, how valuable it looks like for the client, how much time I'll spend, how complex the project is. What I think about it is that if they give someone else, how easily that other person will be able to do it. How many people will be able to do this? If it is very complex, I charge it. If it is something very, standard,
Nice.
wouldn't take much time, I lower the rate because I don't want to lose the client or the project. So I value a
Yeah,
lot of things in one, after looking at the file and say, okay, this is the price. And how do you do it?
exactly. Exactly. Fixed price is the way to go. Cause like look, I'm fast. Like I'm two times faster than your everyday producer or editor, whatever you want to call it. And I don't want to like either I raise my rates crazily and never get jobs,
Mhm.
or I keep my rate at a reasonable place and just bill them on a fixed price basis what regular in terms of like speed. Freelancer will charge them, so I do the job a lot more quicker
Mhm.
because I'm an expert. But that means that if I work on an hourly basis, that I'm gonna get paid less for this, for doing a good job, being quick. So yeah, fixed price always works.
Yeah.
Fixed price is the way to go because also like you're protected by escrow,
Hmm.
and there's also that. And yeah, it's even that like I would prefer a fixed price job on a job that I get from Upwork, but with my long-term clients I don't even prefer that. Like I just get prepay
Yeah.
from most of them. And yeah, this is the way to go for me. It has its downsides. So for example, when I'm asking for a prepay, if the podcast is like, say, the range is, because I'm a podcast editor, say the range is like between $125 and $175. So I go, hey, just pay me 10 episodes ahead and let's just fix it at 140
Hmm.
or 125. Even the bottom
Hmm.
is good because like you're getting all this money at
Upfront.
once. And yeah, so yeah, this system has helped me establish a company, hire people, and grow,
Hmm.
because the lots of money helps, especially for a guy like me who never saved a dime in his life. Big chunks of money, and also who's really bad with banks and has a really bad credit score.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like a credit actually that you get from your clients. In return, you make a discount, a reasonable business agreement, if you ask me.
Okay.
Yeah,
From the client side, it has the advantage of knowing what the price will be, the fixed rate, I mean. And you
yeah.
made a good point on escrow, because when you see there is any fraud attempt, they'll always want hourly rates, because they'll want you to make the work, or they'll ask you some stupid thing. Don't ever do it. Like, send me some money and I'll send you double amount of that money.
Send you some more money.
It's against
Mm.
up. Yeah, it's
It's money
upward,
laundering,
against upward
basically.
policy, and they'll just cancel that credit card and you won't get anything. You'll send the money, you won't get any money. You'll do the work, and in hourly rates, there's always the risk that they'll cancel the card. Although Upwork covers some part of it, it's never 100%.
It's just like, and they look at your performance reports,
Mm,
and as long as, like, look, my performance reports when I was working, they were all 10 out of
mhm,
10. Like, even when I stopped, I would click that fucking mouse,
mm,
just to, just to keep it up, or I would not stop. Like, even for a minute, if
mm,
I was gonna stop, I would just keep clicking that mouse because they record minute by minute.
mhm,
So every minute your performance is there for the client to see. And if it's like an eight, if there's like an 8 out of 10 within the hour, like for every 10
mhm,
minutes,
mhm,
or like a, I don't know, like a 5 out of 10, and the rest is like 10 out of 10, it's still, they still cut some of the money
mhm.
they pay back. So when it's a fixed price, you just get it or you don't. So that's like the benefit, I guess. I never had a
I
dispute, by
had
the way.
disputes. Maybe we talked about it on the Turkish podcast. We can do it later on some other day, for the English one. And
Yeah, especially Mehmet. Like, this is also one thing that we should touch on, I guess, is like when you're starting out. I'm a big believer that low rates get you jobs
correct.
because there are
You have
people
no
who
other
are willing
option, in
to
fact.
pay, yeah, yeah, low. Uh, this is how it worked for me. I know a lot of people come to the platform and they try to start with like $30, $40, and look, nobody's gonna hire you. I don't care who you are. I
Mm,
don't care what you did. I'm not gonna hire you. Who are you?
yeah.
Like, what did you do? I don't know. Like, you wrote all these references, these schools. I don't fucking know. I could write fucking I went to Harvard
Mhm,
on my profile.
yeah.
Like, how would you know? So I don't know. So what really matters for me as someone who has been hiring is your job history and your record.
Yeah.
How you build relationships with clients. Did you have any long-term jobs? uh, the first job I got, Mehmet, I would just sit in front of the platform and I'll just say, hey man, like, if you got one of those like podcasting jobs, like, that's the way to go, bro. Like, but I would never apply.
Mhm,
So then one day I started applying, but nothing came out for some
mhm,
time. So then I find this job where this guy actually shared the whole file.
mhm,
And I had like two jobs in my job history, which were like, music related jobs, nothing to do with podcasts. So I just took this file and I just edited it, like the whole episode. And I just pasted it to the guy. Hey, look, this is what I can do,
mhm,
for you. And that was like my first podcasting job. It was a doctor
mhm,
who was doing podcasts about like regenerative medicine or
mhm,
something. And that job was like a $5 an hour job. And I worked at it for like 2 years. And after $10, I said, hey, like, you're not, you're this guy who wants to pay little money, and this is not going to work out. And I left. But yeah, that's what actually got me started and got me going, because after that, you start getting more jobs because you have this hourly job that you're working there
mhm,
and you put in what, like 80 hours in.
mhm.
hey, I'm down because this guy is happy with you.
Mhm.
Why shouldn't I try you? So that was really important. That's why like hourly jobs are helpful at the beginning, at least.
On that, when you first start something, just as you said, the person on the other side has two options. Either will want something very high quality and will pay for it. And if I'm going to pay you like $100 an hour or equivalent fixed amount, fixed fee for that amount, then I should see that you are 5 star, you are top rated plus expert vetted, whatever it is. Or you don't have anything, but I should feel, oh, what kind of a risk I'm taking? It's just $10. You know, they just
Yeah,
have to decide on one thing. If, for example, we are making our podcast, we don't have that many subscribers, we are not making any money out of it, so we are strapped on budget. So we'll, when someone edits our videos and so on, we won't be hiring the $100 video editor because we cannot afford it,
yeah,
seriously.
yeah. And also, like when you're like hiring, uh, at least this is how I look at it. Like if I'm hiring a person for like $10 an hour, which was FA,
Mhm.
I was paying him $20 an episode when we started. This is like a person that I'm willing to invest my money in this person,
Mhm.
not because like he's doing a good job only. That's important, but there's also the fact that why should I invest in this person? Because like this person is gonna get me a return at the end of the day. So in my case, look, he started with 20 an episode, and like I don't even want to talk about what I'm paying him right now. I'm paying him a ton of fucking money, and he's happy, we're happy, because I invested in him, I believed in him, and he built this relationship with me. It's not out of nowhere. So it's really what they say, in every industry, in real estate investing, in, I don't know, corporate, whatever you want to call it. It's just a relationship business. You have relationships, you have a network, and then you're good. If you don't, you build it. And Upwork is a great place to get to know great people, because there are great people who hire through Upwork. Yeah.
Third pricing method is not available on Upwork, and it won't be available for most of us. It's called value based pricing. It's something very niche. For example, it won't happen for retoucher because there are millions of maybe retouchers, or at least 100,000. Same for sound editors. But let's say you're
Hmm.
an expert on robotic programming, and there are only 50 people
Hmm.
in the world that can do what you can do.
So it's a niche.
Okay, and someone says,
Yeah.
okay, I have this automotive factory and I need this new programming for these machines to be done, or I need a new robotic arm to be developed that does this. Then you'll look at this company, let's say Tesla, for example, and then you'll say, okay, they are
Hmm.
going to make $300 million in first year, or they'll have $50 million of savings. Maybe it will take you, let's say, 6 months to complete the task, but you'll still be saying, okay, they'll be annually saving 50 million, and let's say 3 years, 150 million saving. If I do charge 10% of it, it will be $1.5 million. It won't be have anything to do with your hourly rate, what your knowledge is, etc. It is what your work has the value of your work to the client, how much it will help them to make. Yeah,
The value it will bring, actually.
this is
Yeah.
very niche,
Yeah.
very
Look, but there are other metrics for this. For
yeah.
example, if I've been working with a client for years,
Mhm,
I know their systems. I launched them,
mhm,
say, I launched their podcast, and created all these hundreds of maybe thousands of clips. Like I know their what they want, what they advocate for, what their message.
Mm-hmm.
I know their brand.
Mm-hmm.
I know everything about them. So you can always go find a new person,
Mm-hmm.
but that means that you have to work with that person so that that person can get to this level.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're an expert, nobody is gonna just jump in and know everything from the start, because there are rules within every job that you have to follow. So I think that's also a value metric.
Calculate the exact amount that the value you are bringing. You can easily say, okay, I'll ask 10% or 20% of it. That can work, especially if you can really calculate it and say, okay, I need 10% of it. They may get shocked, but still in the long run, as you said, if they are very much tied to you, yes, you can do that. But it's not something that is seen a lot by our people, the freelancers we know. But uh, if you are
Yeah,
niche
it's a
on
big
something,
risk 'cause-
you are uh, for a chocolate designer, for it, you make different taste chocolates. How
mm,
many chocolate designers are there in the world? I don't know.
yeah, yeah, it's like Farhat.
Yeah, bit like a pet
It's dude who's
product
like a
designer.
designer. Yeah, he does very niche jobs, and yeah, he can build the fuck out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
He should be considering value based pricing for his work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He does. He does that
Yeah.
actually. Okay,
And the
so
final
these are
one, there is the
all our
retainer.
topics. Oh,
There,
there's one more. Okay. Oh, that's my game.
yeah,
That's my
retainer
game.
is
Yeah,
like you decide on a monthly fixed fee for a certain amount. You can say unlimited for like 40 hours a week, or you can say 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week. But even if, as long as the client doesn't pass that mark or that threshold, you keep on charging him or her the same amount every month, even if he or she doesn't send you any work. It's called retainer. It's available on Upwork, but I didn't yet work.
nobody
Yeah,
uses it
it's
right
it's
now. I
available on
think
Upwork. You
nobody
can
uses it.
make it work if you find such a client.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good deal when you're a retainer, because it's like your own salary, but you're also your own boss. Nobody's your boss. So
Exactly.
it's like, yeah, it's just like in real world. You're building a building and you get a retainer to do the windows.
Hmm. Hmm.
You retain them and they do all this stuff, and in return, you for some time you pay this amount.
Then you are far more relaxed, yeah, richer.
Rich.
You can hire
You're rich.
assistants for yourself, so you can just organize the whole
Yeah.
system and keep on, producing. And from the
Yeah,
first
but
day of the
listen,
month, you
listen,
know
this
how
ain't
much you'll make it.
easy. This ain't easy. It will suck your life out of you. This ain't
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, yeah.
Bringing together a team, just teaching them, being on top of everything else while teaching them, and doing some work at the side is a real. It has like this year it's been a real challenge for me, but the reward is great. So it is worth it. If you can do it, do it.
If you can hang with a client for a long time, maybe it's time to offer them a retainer agreement. To this date, I offered once to one of my clients. He hasn't accepted it, unfortunately. But it's never.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, leave it and keep on trying retainer.
Yeah, yeah. Keep on trying. Yeah, yeah, Mehmet. Look, at the end of the day, what you're doing, your niche, is actually very suitable for this.
Yeah.
You know, if you find, there are a lot of companies, so uh, even like you can, hire. You already do all these, but like you can hire people and just like pay them money. You make money. Everybody's happy.
You'll
So
do the quality
yeah,
control,
the
and that
way.
will be it. Let's talk in our next episode on what to do with the money we are making. Very difficult.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. It's a fun subject, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
then. So you can join our LinkedIn group, Freelancers Coffee Break, or you can find us on Twitter, not Twitter anymore, X, and Instagram. Uh, you can find the links in our show notes page.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to you in the next episode. Thank you, Mehmet. And
Thanks.
yeah, see you soon.
Bye bye.